Do you ever feel overwhelmed by the ever-changing world of technology? Tech It Out can help make some sense of it all. Breaking down geek speak into street speak, technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman covers consumer technology each week for every listener. Mark tackles the latest news, reviews, and how-tos to help you understand what's hot, what's not, and why.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tech It Out, episode 405. Hope you're all having a stellar day so far. And hey, it's a really busy show for you today with 4 great guests. And so I'm going to cut to the chase, no small talk, off the top of the show this time. I'm going to tell you what's on tap this hour. We start with saving money while traveling with an eSIM. Saily will join us to explain what an eSIM is. And speaking of travel and saving money, we'll also be joined this hour by Wise on how to avoid high withdrawal fees from an ATM when you're in another country. Also on Tech It Out, gadget guy Mario Armstrong joins us with some back-to-school suggestions. Yep, we're almost at that time, folks. And finally, T-Mobile has unlocked its satellite service so you can always remain connected. And it works with many different kinds of phones. And even if you're not a T-Mobile customer, it's now live across the country. All of this and more on a brand new Tech It Out, powered by Visa, which I'll tell you more about shortly. But without further ado, let's officially kick off the show with our first interview. Well, summer is in full swing, a popular time of year for travel, of course. And if you're looking to save money while staying connected, I've been recommending for a while now to buy an eSIM for your smartphone rather than roam on your existing carrier's plan, which might result in an unfortunate surprise on your mobile phone bill when you come home. Well, joining us to tell us all about Saily, a very popular eSIM provider, and also ways to remain cyber safe while traveling, we're joined by Saily CEO Vykintas Maknickas. Thanks for your time, Vykintas. How are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm very good.
Great. Excellent. Well, I'm looking forward to this chat. Before we talk travel tips, please tell us a bit about Saily. I do see ads for them everywhere. That's that yellow and black logo, right?
Exactly. So Saily is an eSIM for travel. Back in the day, the majority of the phones had only one SIM slot. What it did, it basically you needed this plastic thingy, in order to get connectivity and get text messages and get calls and everything was embedded in that single SIM card. Now the SIM card is in some of the countries, for iPhones, for example, it doesn't exist anymore. In some countries it still exists, but besides that, there's another option to get connectivity and to get all the additional services from telecommunications provider, and that's an eSIM. It's basically the same SIM card except is downloaded over the internet.
Right.
And what that means, is you don't need to go to the retail shop, in order to buy connectivity. That's one thing. Another thing is you can have different eSIM cards, one of which providing connectivity for you, another one providing your other services like phone number and text messages.
All right. So thanks for that. So phones used to take a little plastic card called a SIM card that would have your phone number and other information on it. And then travelers, when they landed in a new country, often overseas, they would rent another piece of plastic that you had to go get physically, insert it in your phone, which isn't always the easiest for everyone, and then take it back out again. So an eSIM is like a virtual SIM. So it's the same idea where you get connectivity with another carrier without having to put in that SIM card. And that's why I think there's been this explosion in popularity of eSIMs. It just makes sense. And I think cost, aside from convenience, cost is probably the biggest motivator, because if you roam, and this is what I hinted at off the top of our interview, Vykintas, when you get home, it's probably going to be a really big bill, and that's going to, give you a sour taste to the end of your vacation. So it is true that an eSIM is more affordable. Could you walk us through how it works with Saily?
Yeah, of course. So the thing is, before eSIM revolution of sorts, majority of the telecommunications providers also provided roaming and still provide roaming, except their prices are based on the fact that users are not going to switch to other provider because it's so inconvenient. That's why convenience is important here, I believe,
For sure. And then I guess the one catch, unless you do have multiple eSIMs, as you mentioned, one with your phone number and another one to get online, for most people who buy an eSIM when they are traveling from, say, New York to Italy for a week or from Montreal to Taiwan for 2 weeks, is that you may not have your local number handy. There's some workarounds where you can have your number forwarded and all that. But for the most part, people just get a data SIM. Is that fair? So you can access the internet, your email, and then use services like WhatsApp or FaceTime or something to stay connected.
Yes, most of the time that's the case. Majority of people traveling, they only use data either way. The popularity of messaging platforms and so on.
Okay. So can you walk us through how it works? You go to Saily.com, which is SAILY.com, or do you suggest to download the app instead? And I guess you create an account and then you just select the country you're going to. Is that basically how it works?
Yes, you can go either, to the website or download the app directly. Then you can choose between either a country plan or a region plan or a global plan. So if you are traveling to several countries, you can pick Europe plan, for example, if you are traveling from, for example, US to Italy and France for a week.
Right. Thanks for that clarification. You can often choose by region, not just by country, if you are planning on traveling once you do land across the pond. That's a good point. I'm going to ask you in a moment, Vykintas, why Saily when there are so many other eSIM providers? And also, I want our listeners to know that Nord Security, the company that owns Saily, also owns NordVPN, which is a powerhouse today in protecting customers from cyber threats and privacy concerns with a virtual private network solution, or VPN. So we're going to get to that in a moment. We are chatting with Saily's CEO, Vykintas Maknickas. This is a company that provides an eSIM, that's eSIM, that you can unlock for your mobile device. When you want to use data with this eSIM, you just have to unlock roaming. You have to select that on your iPhone or Android device when you land in that new country. I guess that's a question you often get, right, Vykintas? For those who aren't so tech savvy, they may think it's just going to work when they land. That's just that one thing they need to do if their phone doesn't do it for them already.
Yes, they need to switch to a different eSIM for their data services specifically.
Right.
So we usually recommend you try it before the flight. Once you land, you get connectivity instantly.
Right. But you have to enable data roaming also. First step is to select the eSIM that you've purchased in advance. So you spend, $5 on 1 gig for Greece, for example, or whatever. And then once you land in that country, you do that in advance. And then once you land, you have to select that eSIM from your options, from your settings, but also enable data roaming is the only tip I was trying to suggest.
Yes, that's accurate. Some countries doesn't require this toggle on, but we still recommend have it on either way.
Thank you for that. So why Saily? They seem to be one of the biggest, if the number of ads I see for them is any indication. But there are a lot of eSIM providers. What would you say if someone asked you, why should I go with a Saily service?
Yeah, so you briefly mentioned that Saily is part of Nord Security, the creators of NordVPN. So from the very beginning, while building the product, we wanted to have an answer, why Saily? And we already have it. We integrated NordVPN security features into the Saily network connectivity. What that means is basically once you land in the destination and start using Saily, you can pick a country where you would route your traffic through NordVPN servers. We call it virtual location. So while you're traveling in Italy, you can pick US or Canada as your virtual location, and you would appear as being in these countries for internet website.
So that means you just can't be tracked, right? That's the idea, is that you can remain anonymous while you're online.
Yes, that means you cannot be tracked, as well as we have 2 additional features, which are web protection and ad block. Ad block basically prevents you from downloading ads. And this way, we not just block all the trackers, ads, and so on the internet while you're browsing. We also save you some data because according to our calculations, by not downloading all those things, you can save up to 20-30%.
Oh, wow. That's something I've never even thought of, all the data that's used for advertisements when you're roaming. Because when you do commit to a certain amount of gigabytes, like, 3 gigabytes over 1 week, you want to keep an eye on that number or else you have to top it up. And so by having ads, it's going to eat away some of that data that you want for other purposes. That's a great point. And before I let you go, Vykintas, not only are you the CEO of Saily, but from what I understand, you're the former chief of product strategy at NordVPN. So it would be remiss not to ask you about ways to stay safe financially while traveling. Travelers are more at risk of cybersecurity threats. You already mentioned a couple of things that can happen. So what can we do to stay safe? Like maybe with NordVPN as part of the solution?
Yes, of course. So one thing to note is while traveling, people usually visit websites they don't visit often. So for example, if you land in some country and you need some museum tickets, you might need to visit a local website that's you are unfamiliar with and so on. And this increases the risk of being scammed.
Yeah, for example, people will hop on the free airport Wi-Fi when they land, right? And that's a public network, which is not safe.
Exactly. So we designed Saily, so you wouldn't need to connect to a Wi-Fi network at all. But if you're willing to do so, we highly recommend to add NordVPN to your security suite as well. So your connection would be end-to-end encrypted as well as private while you're browsing.
Vykintas, great to chat with you. Thank you so much for your time. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your summer. Thanks again.
Thank you very much.
I'm looking forward to trying Saily when I go to Germany in 10 days. When we return on Tech It Out, gadget guy Mario Armstrong joins us with cool tools for school. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want. Find the Tech It Out podcast at iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to Tech It Out. We cover cybersecurity a lot on this program and how you can best protect yourself in the digital age, even if you're not super tech savvy. One part of the solution is securely shopping online. And so I'm thrilled about my partnership with Visa on Tech It Out, as they've made some significant investments in fraud prevention over the past 5 years, as much as $10 billion. Yes, that's billion with a B, to support Visa's brand promise to protect the financial information of individuals and businesses. Zero liability means peace of mind when you shop online using your Visa card. There can be no half measures when it comes to cybersecurity, which is why the company takes an aggressive and multi-layered approach to combating the rising threat of malicious software and other threats by well-funded and global criminal enterprises. Read more about Visa and how securing the world's payments is priority one at visa.com/security. That's visa.com/security. Believe it or not, a new school season is already upon us. Cue the eye rolling, students. But at the very least, there's some top tech to help ease you back into the classroom. If you're wondering what's cool for school this year, lucky for you, we have digital lifestyle expert Mario Armstrong with us to share a backpack full of A+ ideas. Hey, Mario.
I love that. Backpack full. I love it. Hey, Mark, good to chat with you, man, as well. And you're right. I have backpacks, notepads, crayons, tablets, printers. I have it all on set with me and partnered up with some great brands for this back to school season.
I said they were A+ ideas, and A+ isn't something I saw much in my days as a student. But tell me how today's students can rock it in the classroom. What do you got for us?
First off, we have tech in common, but we also have the fact that we both didn't get a lot of A+. So that's really good to know. I thought I was the only one.
Oh, not at all.
We turned out okay, Mom and Dad. So my first one is HP. So HP has two things that I'm really excited about for back to school. One is their new bite-sized lessons. So what these are free printables. And they're designed for parents. They're like these printable documents that you can print out. They're great for creative fun, educational moments. They're created, if you ever remember these magazines, the magazines Highlights for Children. Mm-hmm. So that's created by them in conjunction, in partnership with a Harvard professor of learning sciences, Dr. Bonowitz. So they're perfect for ages 5 to 10. They spark curiosity. They're going to engage them in learning, build up some of that confidence. And it's really great because it's one of those things where they get all the answers without having to ask you for all the answers all the time. And then, of course, you're going to want to print these things and all of that fun stuff, too. So you got to use the HP Smart Tank 5101, which makes printing easy. And it comes with up to 2 years of ink included, which is perfect for when you know that moment's going to happen when the book report's due and you run out of ink. Not with this, because you'll have it for 2 years.
Great suggestion, Mario. And you talked about inspiring creativity. I know you probably want to expand on that.
Yeah, I do, because there's Epic Kids. And I don't know if you know about Epic Kids, but they are the #1 digital library for kids. They have, so it's digital, folks, so it's on your devices, but they have over 40,000 top quality books from over 250 publishers. So that's a lot of books and a lot of publishers. You can do a lot of fun things, like from read to me stories, fun quizzes, badges you can earn, and you'll really learn what your kid likes to read, which is really great. And start them now so that they ease into school when it kicks in.
I remember writing about Epic, the app, which I reviewed on an iPad for USA Today back in, I want to say 2017.
Oh, wow.
So it's been around for a while. I think it just came out at that point. And it's a fantastic ebook platform with tons of content. And I can't believe they're up to that many books now. Amazing.
It's astounding. There's something for everyone, for sure.
I know we're not talking pricing today, Mario, so our listeners should head on over to inthenews.tv to see these products in action, but also to grab links and see prices and all that.
Correct.
We are chatting with digital lifestyle expert Mario Armstrong, who's donning his backpack full of some great tech ideas for back to school season. Why don't we end off with 2 must-have tips that you like for back to school season?
Okay, so I'm going to jump in with like Crayola. You can't talk back to school without Crayola. Like, it's synonymous. So every student needs to spark that creativity. I love that they have several different items available. They're 24 count crayons. They got the 10 count markers, 12 count colored pencils. They're all perfect for young artists that are wanting to explore their imagination and self-expression, of course, and they're at the great prices that we're always used to. One new thing that's really fun is that they have their limited edition retired colors. So they have actually retired colors. They're available in 8 count crayons, colored pencils, and markers. So you might want to get them before they head back into retirement, which is cool. Also, Staples. If you are shopping and you're like, where are the deals, Mario? Staples has all your essentials. You named it earlier: backpacks, lunch boxes, water bottles, all the fun stuff kids love, but then the things that are like folders, notebooks, pencils, and those things are starting as low as 25 cents. And some of these are featuring their favorite characters, like they got Stitch and Minecraft, trendy designs like sprinkles, donuts, and gummy bears. So they got all the cool stuff, and verified teachers get 20% off. And if you do shop with them, you want to look out for their weekly freebies, because as you're shopping, they're going to be doing that through August 16th. So that's something to take advantage of. And then I would say the last one, Mark, is really making back to school easier in the morning. Starts with how they get dressed and how they get together. So we have the Supermouth Cavatar Caddy. This is an all-in-one organizer. It's got a toothbrush holder, an automatic toothpaste dispenser, playful ice cream cone rinse cup for mouthwash. It plays 4 songs. They're each timed to 2 minutes, which is the recommended brushing time. So kids will now brush longer, up to 73% longer when they are listening to music. It's got dancing headlights. I mean, the kids are going to want to brush their teeth.
inthenews.tv to learn more from Mario Armstrong, as well as following him on all his socials at Mario Armstrong. As for retired Crayola colors, by the way, Dandelion is on that list. I used to color with that, as well as Blizzard Blue. If you saw these, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's my childhood right there in one color.
Blizzard Blue is one of my favorites.
Yeah, or Magic Mint. Love it. Mario, always great to chat with you. Thanks so much for these amazing ideas for back to school time.
Hey, I wish everyone a great start to the school season. Be well, and thanks for having me on, Mark. I appreciate it.
We'll be right back with more Tech It Out.
Want to follow Mark? Google him. Mark with a C and Saltzman with a Z. Breaking down geek speak into street speak. This is Tech It Out. Tech It Out with technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back to Tech It Out. As travelers pack their bags this summer, new data from Wise, the global money app, reveals that ATM fees in some of the most popular travel destinations have surged to unprecedented levels. To tell us about Wise and how it can save you time and money while traveling, we're joined by Ankita D'Mello, Principal Product Manager at Wise. Welcome to the show, Ankita. Good to chat with you.
Good to chat with you too. Thanks for having me.
And I hope you're having a good summer as well.
I am. Thank you.
Excellent. Let's first identify the problem, which I've already hinted at off the top. What's wrong with the old way of withdrawing money when you're traveling from a machine? Or something I also know that the Wise app lets you do is sending money overseas to family. What's wrong with the old way of both of these?
Yeah. So to be honest with you, the old way, I think the biggest problem that we still see is unfortunately just unexpected fees. And this is far too common, even though there is more knowledge and transparency around it. Today, what we see is when you withdraw from an ATM, it might be your home bank, it might be the local ATM that you're withdrawing from, or it might just be the exchange rate that you're given. But inevitably, what people don't actually realize is that you can be charged up to 27% per transaction that you actually withdraw from an ATM. So yeah, that's a lot. And I think typically, what we're seeing is ATM fees about 2.05%. That's not terrible. But what we are seeing in, you mentioned as people are traveling for summer in certain countries, which are very popular destinations like Indonesia and Vietnam, we are seeing ATM fees surging between 1,300 to 3,500%, which is really staggering. Yeah.
That's significant.
It is. And these are countries, when you're traveling from this side of the world, you're thinking, okay, this is a long way to go, but hopefully in this country, things are maybe relatively cheaper and you can have a great holiday, but you might not realize what you're actually spending as you're drawing money from a local ATM.
All right. Regardless of which country you're in, you're withdrawing, let's say $100 in local currency. It's going to be much more than that with all the fees piled on.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been in this situation myself. And I think one of the things that's also difficult while you're on holiday is you're in this mindset of having fun. You're a little bit more carefree. You're also just not doing the math. Like while you're standing at this ATM, you just want to get your money and, go do fun. And so I think that's really where, tourists and just, holiday goers get really trapped in these hidden fees.
Fair. Ankita, with that in mind, why don't we chat about the Wise app? How can it help? At a high level, what's it all about?
Good question. So Wise is fundamentally a global technology company. We are building the best way to move and manage the world's money. So really, what does that mean for you? I think the best way I try to describe Wise is no matter where you go, it's the app that tries to make you feel like a local. So we've all been in that situation where you go to a country, you're dealing with a foreign currency, you don't know what to do. Wise is your financial buddy, effectively, that's going to make you feel like a local, receiving money like a local. So how does that actually help you if you're specifically abroad and you're trying to withdraw money from an ATM as well? One of the things about Wise is we have a product called the Wise account, where you can hold money and you can spend from that account as well. So it's powered by a debit card. And so when you actually use this debit card abroad, similar to how the Wise account actually works, is we're very transparent about the fees that you're actually charged. So Wise is really big on not having hidden fees, about being really clear about what it is that we charge. And on average, we charge about 0.53% for a transfer. So as you can imagine, the numbers I've told you earlier, it's really, really a lot less than what some of these ATM fees can charge. So the things that I've seen specifically when you're abroad and you use the Wise card, number one, you're gonna be able to step away from two big hidden fee components, right? So one is, as your home bank, Wise offers you 2 free withdrawals when you use your Wise card. And then secondly, we always charge the mid-market rate. So even if you're holding money in a different currency, so let's say you're holding 500 USD and you're withdrawing in, Indonesian rupiah or Singapore dollars, whatever it might be, we're going to show you the mid-market rate and we're going to charge you a really transparent fee. So those are two big things that you're automatically saving on. And then ATM fees, unfortunately, that can be something that is up to a local ATM to actually charge. So that's something I do encourage holiday goers to be mindful of.
And I also know that you can use the Wise app to pay without needing local currency as well. Like digitally, There are some options there too, right?
So one of the things that we see in the local markets today is we are, as a society, slightly moving away from cash. And so as you may go on holiday, you might notice a bunch of QR codes in order to be able to pay locally. And often you might not have the particular mechanism to actually use that QR code. So Wise is actually trying to help our customers now by building that technology into the Wise app. So for example, if you go to Singapore and you want to pay using Pay Now, which is the local way of paying, you can actually do that directly from the Wise app, and you don't have to withdraw cash and you don't have to download any other applications, the local way of paying.
All right. Using the Wise app has lower fees than other solutions. There's also more transparency. And you already gave some examples of countries in, I guess, Southeast Asia where we've seen 4-digit % rise in fees. So is this tied to the recent study that you commissioned?
Yes, it is. So Wise recently commissioned a study where we actually looked at about 10 million transactions between February to July 2025. And this is where we really noticed this staggering increase in ATM fees. So yeah, it is very much tied to this study. What we really want to highlight is, again, making sure that customers are truly aware of how this may impact them.
It's eye-opening for sure. We're going to continue chatting about the Wise app and all the benefits it brings in a moment. I wanted to just give a shout out to SanDisk. They're going to be my guest in a week from now, where they're going to share news about a very cool new USB-C device, a flash storage solution like a little thumb drive, but works with your iPhone or Android to back up important files. We all know that you can't expand the storage on an iPhone, especially, and usually that's the case with Android as well. So you may run out of room because photos and videos are getting much bigger, 4K, 8K, all that kind of stuff. SanDisk is a partner on Tech It Out. For full transparency, SanDisk.com has more. When we return, more with Wise about saving money when you travel. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Breaking down geek speak into street speak. Tech It Out, hosted by Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Tech It Out. We are chatting with Ankita D'Mello, Principal Product Manager at Wise, the global money app. We are talking steep ATM fees and how to circumvent those by going with an app like Wise. What do you think is the reason behind these fees? I know that, like you said earlier in our chat, that it could be your local bank back at home. It could be the store that has the ATMs adding some fees so they can make some money on it. Why do you think it got out of hand?
It's a really good question. I think it's something that Wise is also digging into a bit further. Some of these things, they are like geopolitical, and they're things that, the market might not necessarily have control over. So things like home banks charging the fees, I think those are things that typically we have seen. But I think where things are becoming a lot more interesting are with exchange rate volatility, particularly in today's climate. We've seen a lot of movement there. So that's definitely a big one. And as different countries' economies also change, those local ATM fees are very volatile. So I think those are the two big things that we're seeing. And that's why we want to highlight this to customers specifically, to say, hey, watch out for this and make sure you're using your money wisely.
Got it. Wisely. There you go. Nicely played. And Wise makes its money with the fees that you touched on. There's no subscription fee or anything.
No, Wise does not charge a subscription fee. It's free to open up a Wise account. There's a small fee to order a debit card, which is about $9. We specifically only make fees on our fee for transferring money or converting money, which is 0.53% on average of the transfer. So there's no other hidden fees or other markups anywhere.
And Ankita, before I let you go, as we mentioned earlier, Wise can also be used to send money to family overseas. Can you talk for a moment about the benefits of using Wise for this?
Absolutely. The benefits are very similar to what I've described for withdrawing money as well for ATMs. Predominantly, there are three big things I would say. The first is it's a lot cheaper than your bank. As I mentioned, it's 0.53% of your transfer amount as our fee. 65% of transfers at Wise are also instant, which means that your recipient, whether that's your family or whether that's paying a vendor abroad, are going to receive their money instantly, which is awesome. And thirdly, it's also a convenient way to pay. So you can download the Wise app, or you can go to wise.com and create an account. And once you've done that, you're all set up to go. So those are the real big benefits of using Wise compared to, let's say, a traditional bank or potentially other players out there.
And then I guess the easiest way to get going is just to download the Wise app, or do you recommend going to the website?
For users who are on the go, we definitely recommend downloading the Wise app on iOS or Android. For users who prefer a laptop, just head to wise.com.
All right, wise.com. Ankita, great to chat with you. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Mobile phone users know this all too well. Despite seemingly ubiquitous cell phone service in 2025, it's really not that uncommon to find yourself in a dead zone. In fact, I was visiting my son at his summer camp where he works last Sunday, and I had maybe one bar on the phone. And I thought to myself, well, I really hope I don't need to contact anyone in the event of an emergency. Or what if my aging parents need to reach me? Well, all of this may be a thing of the past, as T-Mobile has officially launched its partnership with Starlink, extending service coverage in the 500,000 square miles of U.S. territory where traditional towers can't reach. Joining us to chat about it is Alice Williams, Vice President of Product Marketing at T-Mobile. Thanks for your time, Alice. Looking forward to this chat.
Hi, Mark. Great to be here. Thank you.
Dead zones continue to be an issue for cell phone users, especially in remote areas. That's the problem. So let's talk about the solution. Tell us about T-Satellite and how this technology works.
Yeah, so we embarked on this effort nearly 3 years ago with our partner Starlink. We set out with a fairly simple, but turns out really ambitious mission, ending dead zones and covering the 500,000 square miles of American terrain that no cellular network can reach. This isn't reachable by T-Mobile or Verizon or TNT. None of us can reach these places. So we knew it was a fairly simple idea, but the whole conceit was, what if we could use direct-to-cellular technology to be able to reach these people and create this extra level of coverage? And T-Satellite, which we launched last week to customers following an extensive beta, is the first major milestone in being able to realize that vision.
Congrats. That's great.
Thanks. Yeah, we're really excited. It was the fruit of a lot of labor and brain power and really the invention of a new technology. And so that's sort of, as excited as we are to offer the service, we're also always excited anytime we can be in the business of pioneering something.
Awesome. So look, I know some mobile phone manufacturers like Apple or Samsung, they're offering these sort of emergency SOS satellite solutions, but it's very limited. Alice, can you clarify how this works on the back end without getting too much into the geek speak, like how T-Mobile was able to make this happen?
If you could imagine a cell tower that's sort of the big pole with sort of radios mounted at the top. We took those radios, modified them, and attached them to satellites, launched them into space at sort of a 650 plus count, and set them into orbit. And so what we ended up with is sort of a cellular network in space that creates a blanket of coverage across the U.S. It leverages T-Mobile spectrum, so we can kind of control the orchestration layer. What that means for the user is sort of three things. One is this notion of ubiquity that you mentioned is sort of realized. Like, you are reachable effectively everywhere in the U.S. There are a couple of minor examples where we're prohibited from broadcasting, but you're effectively reachable anywhere via this technology. The second is it works with the device in your pocket. You don't need any special technology. It works on effectively every modern smartphone produced in the last 4 years or so. And then the third is it just connects. There is seamless transition between the T-Mobile terrestrial network and the satellite network. So those three things together, I think, really set us apart from other services that are available and set the stage, I think, for a future that envisions advancing the capabilities in the years to come.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you about the future of this in a moment, but that's good to hear that you don't need a specific brand of phone. Tech It Out continues right after this.
Follow Mark Saltzman on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want.
Just a few minutes left with Alice Williams, VP of Product Marketing at T-Mobile, to tell us all about T-Satellite. That's T-Satellite, a partnership with Starlink to bring connectivity to virtually any modern smartphone. Before the break, Alice, you were talking convenience, how it'll just switch to satellite if you're off the grid, so to speak. Are you hinting at the fact that you don't need to hold the phone up in the air and point it around and look for an on-screen cue? Even though I haven't tried it myself, to be honest, but my iPhone says that that's what you need to do. So that's not the case.
Not the case at all. In fact, 3 times as many messages are received than sent on T-Satellite. And what that means is you're effectively getting messages when you don't even know it. The phone can literally be in your pocket or your backpack or your cup holder of your car.
Yeah.
So it really is. Often the user doesn't even realize they've changed networks. That's a function of how we design the technology.
Okay, so you just need a smartphone that's been around for about 3 to 4 years. You need to be a T-Mobile customer. Is there anything else that we need to know? And what does this mean for the future of mobile service?
Well, first, if you'll allow me, I might make one small correction to your question, which is you don't need to be a T-Mobile customer.
Oh, okay, wow.
You actually can be yeah, exactly. It's so cool. You can be a Verizon or an AT&T customer and buy T-Satellite for $10 a month. We enable the service via secondary SIM card. And so that's really exciting and novel on its own. Now, of course, if you're a Verizon or AT&T customer, we encourage you to switch. It's better over here, as we like to say, but it's not necessary to have T-Satellite. What you do have to do is sign up as a customer of T-Satellite. So you have to sort of tell us you want the service. On our best rate plans, it is included. But for those not on our best rate plans, the $10 a month introductory price. But to answer your question about what we see as a signal for future connectivity is at the same time as this satellite capability is coming on board, our 5G network continues to get better and better and better. So we don't see this as a world where satellite catches up to the capabilities of our 5G network and takes it over. We see it as an augmentation of our core network. And so you can imagine the sort of high compute use cases, the day-to-day use of your smartphone and other connected devices will continue to be powered by the T-Mobile terrestrial network. But we think that T-Satellite capabilities can continue to get sharper around the edges to make sure that we deliver on this seamless experience that ultimately realizes our vision one day of putting an end to dead zones.
And can you clarify, Alice, is this for calls, for texts, for data? I mean, we're not doing like video calls over satellite yet.
Yeah, great point. It is. Remember, this is a brand new technology and the signal has to go to space and back. So it's a great point. Our commercial service launched with text messaging. And then over the months ahead, we are bringing on picture messaging. So we have sort of some of our compatible devices that are offering picture messaging currently. Mm-hmm. And then later this year, we're going to offer something called satellite data, where we have sort of a modified data experience on a select number of apps. It's actually not select. Any app developer can use our SDK to develop for T-Satellite, but we will launch with a select number of partners. And so we're focused first and foremost on text messaging, video and picture messaging, and data. But ultimately, we do believe there are versions of modified voice experiences that we can work toward as well, and that's certainly something we're looking at.
And Alice, before I let you go, I touched on my story about visiting my son up at a summer camp in like a national park, and I was worried about emergency services. Are you seeing that that's the primary application for something like this?
Well, it's certainly the most powerful. We see it unfolding in 2 ways. One is individuals who find themselves stranded or in emergency situations are able to reach out for help and get it in ways that they previously couldn't. But secondly, in instances of mass weather events or extreme weather events, we're able to turn on T-Satellite when terrestrial networks go down to enable connectivity and messaging for entire communities. And so in this way, through our beta, we've covered a number of natural disasters and enabled hundreds of thousands of people to send messages back and forth to let people know they're okay or ask for help. So that's sort of by and large the most impactful use case. But we see it in recreational use cases. We see it for rugged professions where people are off the grid. And we see it for people like me and you who maybe just want to be able to reach your kids when they're off the grid or where you're off the grid. So it's this sort of peace of mind element as well.
Awesome. And then finally, where can our listeners go for more info?
Yeah, there's a ton of great info on our website at t-mobile.com, or you can stop by any T-Mobile store. We'd love to see you there.
Okay, awesome, Alice. Again, with T-Satellite, T-Mobile is the first and only wireless provider with satellite to mobile network in the US that automatically connects to most smartphones made in the last 4 years. Very exciting. Alice Williams, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Mark. Great to talk to you.
I promised you a busy show with 4 guests, so I hope I did not disappoint. Thank you for tuning into Tech It Out, everyone. A big thank you to Visa for being such an awesome partner on this program. They'll be my guest in a week from now to talk AI and how it's shaping fraudulent attacks on consumers and businesses and what you can do to fight back, even if you're not tech savvy. If you're on social media, let me know what you think of Tech It Out. If you have any tech questions for me, suggestions for upcoming guests, my name is Mark Saltzman. Mark with a C, Saltzman with a Z. And you can find me on all the major platforms. Also, let me know where you're tuning into the show from. I always get a kick out of that. And how you're listening, whether it's your favorite local talk radio station or as a podcast. All the best, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. And I look forward to catching up with you next week for another brand new episode of Tech It Out. Bye-bye for now. Ciao.